Freedom. Written by Dragon Lingdar. Read by Arashi. The question caught Lorenz at an oddly vulnerable time, when he was leaving the courtroom with his lawyers and supporters surrounding him, finally free of his father's conservatorship that had dictated the majority of his career in fashion. So he was, perhaps, more honest than he needed to be. "I am not used to being loved," Lorenz said, almost laughing, high from the heady mixture of anxiety and relief. "I wouldn't know what to do if someone who wasn't chosen by my family confessed to me." "Please direct all questions to his publicly available Curious Cat," Loren's lawyer, and the subject of his father's ire, doubtlessly, Claude von Regan, said, interposing himself bodily between Lorenz and the reporters. "He may live stream later, and will be picking from questions submitted there." Questions were shouted at him regardless, as his bodyguards, Ignaz and Raphael, escorted both him and Claude to the waiting car, where Hilda was checking her phone and waiting for them. She opened the door with a flourish, and Lorenz slid inside, Claude moving in beside him. She shut the door pointedly, as Raphael took the front passenger seat, and Ignaz made his way to the driver's side. Lorenz could distinctly hear Hilda fielding all the questions with ease, sidestepping, providing any substantive answer, and he vowed to pay for a year-long membership at her favorite spa as a thank you for being such a baller PR agent. Lorenz slowly felt the tension draining from his shoulders as they pulled away from the throng at the courthouse. While it felt good to have so many supporters, it was also a bit troublesome, since it was easy to hide an agitator in such a large, boisterous group. "So, you're free," Claude eventually said after a long, relieved silence. "Yes," Lorenz sighed, and leaned back into the leather seat. "Finally. And it's all thanks to you." Claude waved away the praise, although there was a small smile on his lips. "Think nothing of it. You know I used your case as a stepping stone for greater, broader changes." Lorenz nodded, but reached out and straightened the turquoise tie that Claude was wearing and said, "Nevertheless, you could have said no. You could have found a less polarizing celebrity, someone with slightly more than a hair's breadth away from the brink of ruin, to use as a springboard for your case. You could have chosen someone whose family didn't have a history with your own. Could have chosen someone who wasn't subject of both ire and pity, whose reach was longer and broader than my own nice appeal." "Nonsense," Claude said, and allowed Lorenz to adjust his tie without complaint. "You and your situation were perfect. Our family's history has nothing to do with you, and people love the drama anyways, which took some of the focus away from you, and just made your father look even worse once his crimes, prior to assuming his conservatorship over you, came to light." "But, Lorenz, were you serious?" "About what?" Lorenz asked as he accepted 2 bottles of water from Raphael, who had a cooler of food and drinks at his feet, and was happily munching on some gourmet beef jerky. "Not that I'm trying to push you into anything, or say you even need a relationship, but now that you no longer have to have a word about the leeches, plants, and hangers on that your father planted, you do have the freedom to have whatever kind of relationship you desire. Would you really not know how to respond to someone confessing their love for you? I get dozens of confessions from men and women via my DMs. You've seen them," Lorenz said as he brought up his Instagram account and navigated over to his messages, which were overflowing with an unsettling mixture of condemnation, support, and outstretched hands. "But they just love me for my fame, my money, my face. And while this legal success is a highlight in a life otherwise rife with disaster and blooper reels, I am sure that everyone will be wanting and watching for my next misstep. And, as I am overall inexperienced in matters of the heart, I am sure I shall make a mistake, which will only cause people to shake their heads and click their tongues, saying that I am not smart enough to make it on my own. We both know that's a lie," Claude said, frowning as Lorenz smoothed the tie onto Claude's vest and withdrew his hands. "You're plenty intelligent enough to prove everyone wrong." "It's nice having someone who's such a solid supporter on my payroll," Lorenz said with a teasing lilt, since the thought of losing Claude now that he no longer needed the man's legal services actually made him want to vomit. "I may take a break from movies and modeling to focus on my fashion and perfume lines. What do you think?" "I think you should do what pleases you," Claude said, and put his hand on Loren's shoulders. "After a decade of people telling you what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, I think you're allowed to just take time to laze around and not be productive. Humans weren't meant to be constantly producing, and you've been jumping from modeling gig to television show to movie since you were 13. I don't think I know what I'd do with myself if I'm not doing something." Lorenz sighed and uncapped his water, taking a few delicate sips. But you don't have to do anything. No one will begrudge you if you simply exist for a while. You've faced and fought through burnout a number of times. But take this only as a suggestion, not a requirement. I won't force you to do anything. No one will. I know, Lorenz said as he looked out the window, as they crawled through the midtown traffic towards his secret apartment. Hey, Claude? Yeah? Can I... Lorenz hesitated. It was odd, how he felt reflexively bad asking for a favor. Favors were usually paid for in his time and sanity, were used as leverage. But Claude wasn't like that, right? You have nothing to be afraid of, Claude said softly, his tone almost tender. Lorenz had revealed things to Claude that he hadn't even told his therapist, also that they could make the most bulletproof case as to why his father was unsuitable as a guardian, and demonstrate that Lorenz would be fine on his own, and under his own volition. And he had only revealed everything that was truly painful to paint the proper, villainous picture of Lorenz's father. He had never betrayed his trust. I don't have the money to continue to afford your legal services, Lorenz said, but I have come to cherish our friendship. Could we continue to be friends? Of course, Claude said without even a moment's hesitation. I like you, Lorenz. Careful, that almost sounds like you like me, Lorenz teased, but the serious look in Claude's face sent a shiver of inquisitive apprehension down Lorenz's spine. However, the serious look was broken by a forced laugh, and Claude clapped his shoulder and said, Hey, don't look so worried. I told you, I won't force you to do anything, so the fact that you've chosen me as your first friend is flattering and all. Right, Lorenz said. You will have to help me as I have never had a friend of my own, so my only experience is how characters in shows and movies treated their friends, and most of my roles weren't exactly exemplary humans. Don't worry, Claude said, and treated him to a genuine smile. I think we'll get along just fine. I'll catch you up on all the friendship rituals you missed growing up, okay? Thank you, Lorenz replied warmly, before looking back out the window. It feels surreal. But now, I can finally live. Yes, Claude affirmed, and I look forward to watching you blossom.